The majority of wholesalers, to get their first deal, they're either going to drive for dollars to get deals, they're going to cold call to get deals, or they're going to go earn a list and then make some money from there. Majority of people don't have $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 to hop on a coaching call and join a program. So they got to get their first deal or two, and then they can start investing in the marketing for there. So my best advice for everyone starting is just...
Today I've got Zach Ginn. Zach is out of the Florida market, and if you don't know Zach, you need to be following him immediately. We will be throwing out some handles and some ways to follow Zach if you are not already doing so. He's been a killer in the education and investing space, investor himself, and teaching and training along with his pops, his dad. Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself. For those that don't know you, how did you jump into this game? What was the first tipping point of your introduction into real estate? And honestly, I know you're young, but what did you do before, if anything, what did you do before real estate?
So my name's Zach Ginn. I'm 24 years old. I guess I'm young, but I've been wholesaling for 7 years, since I was 17 years old, and that's pretty much all I've known for 7 years. So got my first deal at 17 years old. Started wholesaling by myself till I was about 18, 19. Started working with my dad in the business, helped him scale it up. And currently right now we are one of the biggest wholesalers in our region, but mostly just doing nationwide wholesaling and do a lot of JV deals. And I do that. I've shown people how to wholesale from time to time, and that's what I do.
From time to time. I love that. Very modest. So, I know you get a lot of, you've helped a lot of people. I think you've launched a lot of careers, and kudos to you. Anybody that's in the wholesaling space has probably heard of Zach, has been following him. What do you, and I may have some of the cliche questions, but, it's for our audience, it might be the first time. What do you suggest? What are some of your first steps when you talk to somebody that's wanting to just first dive into wholesaling? Maybe they know a little bit about it. They're always they're trying to land that first deal. So what are some of the advice you give to somebody that's considering jumping into wholesaling?
Yeah, so I got pretty standard advice for anyone looking into wholesaling real estate. I think I've taught probably over 250,000 people in my wholesaling course, and then 150,000 on the Facebook group. So I've helped a lot of people starting out. The majority of wholesalers, to get their first deal, they're either going to drive for dollars to get deals, they're going to cold call to get deals, or they're going to go earn a list and then make some money from there. Majority of people don't have $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 to hop on a coaching call and join a program. So they got to get their first deal or two, and then they can start investing in the marketing for there. So my best advice for everyone starting is just to start. Get your first deal, whatever it takes. 80% of all wholesalers are going to get their first deal from driving for dollars or cold calling, or for putting a piece of direct mail out, even though that's a sticky note, or a reverse driving for dollars deal. If 80% of all wholesalers get their first deal from there, just do that.
Then it's a matter of what you do with that. If you're going to reinvest it, or if you're going to cash a big check and start balling out and thinking that you've arrived, don't make that mistake. I've seen plenty of wholesalers and investors do that. And real estate can give you some game-changing opportunities, but you've got to take them when they come. So when those first checks come in, reinvest. I swear, everybody listening, take those and reinvest it. Reinvest it in some more marketing pieces, reinvest it in your education, reinvest it in your growth, because you are now the proud owner of a business, and that business has responsibilities. And quite honestly, I'm allergic to the flashy cars and the pictures of somebody make it rain or whatever. That's don't do that. And for those listening, treat it like a business. So Zach, tell me, let's dive into that a little bit more. Because again, those that don't understand what wholesaling is, give us just a 2-second, brief overview of what wholesaling is.
Yeah, so wholesaling is basically the process of finding people that want to sell their house, writing up an agreement to purchase that property, and then selling that agreement, that piece of paper, to a end buyer, so a cash buyer, for a finder's fee. The best way I can always explain it is you're just selling paper. That's pretty much it. So you write a piece of paper with Jason to buy his house for $100,000. I can go sell it to a rich landlord or house flipper for $120,000 because I negotiate a good deal. and he gives me 20 grand for a finder's fee or an assignment fee. And pretty simple, right? The more simple you make the business, the easier it is for more people to get into it. And that's honestly what I've always done. That's what made me 25 grand my first deal at 17, because I thought it was simple. It wasn't complicated. There's virtually not much risk you can have on it. It's not like flipping a house where there's fees and the market can change and there's termites in the house. So it's no risk, pretty much. You can make a ton of money really fast. And to this day, it's the only way for an 18-year-old to make 25 grand in a month without shaking their butt on the internet. So
yeah,
it's the best way to do it. Legally, yeah.
Legally. Yeah, I love that. And it is true. It's you're flipping contracts, you're flipping paper, you're not flipping houses. You don't ever own the property. You don't take deed to it. You don't have to borrow the money for it. You've got to, be smart about it, and you're connecting the dots from somebody that wants to sell a house to somebody that wants to buy it. That's simply it. What do you think, as you talk to newer wholesalers, people get into the biz, what do you think newer wholesalers struggle with the most? Like what facet of the business or you think new people struggle with the most? Yeah,
it's just consistency. And it's kind of easy if I put it in a metaphor. Everyone looks at it as a business. It's a business. It's not a business. It's like a puppy. If you don't feed the puppy's going to die. And so a lot of people think they get a puppy and, if I feed the puppy once a month, they'll be fine. And it dies. And you're like, oh, why did it die? Oh, it must be the dog food. Dog food was the issue. No, you didn't feed the puppy enough. It's like having a baby. You don't feed a baby enough, it's going to die. You don't give it water, it's going to die. Simple as that. I know it's like, I got to market every day. Yeah, you got to feed the puppy every day. Oh yeah, it's a living being. Either you feed it and it grows or it doesn't. Simple as that. But no one does it.
That is good. Well, sometimes the simplest thing is the most obvious. We overlook it and we complicate it. And I know as a business owner, we sometimes will simply, we'll overcomplicate something. But consistency, that is truly the case. Wholesaling is a marketing and sales business, and you've got to be consistent. You got to put in the reps. You've got to understand your market, but being consistent. I mean, all marketing works if you're consistent about it. I see too many people. Let's speak to this. Somebody with shiny object syndrome. I mean, I've seen so many new wholesalers and investors. They will dive in and they're all over the place. They lack that consistency and they're trying 12 things at once. I mean, what kind of advice do you give to somebody that has caught the shiny object syndrome bug?
Oh, it's great. I love when my employees get, like my acquisitions guy, he loves nice stuff. That's great. He'll make 25 grand in a month, a good percentage of my wholesaling deals. And then he spends all the money and now he has to be hungry and do it again. I think the shiny object syndrome, when I look at a new wholesaler, I love it because they're hungry to do the next deal. Now, personally, I'd never do that, right? I'd always reinvest it because once you start making money, like where I'm at now, like if I have all these rental properties, and I'm making all this money per month, why do I want to keep wholesaling, right? That kind of kills the drive for a lot of people. I mean, shiny object syndrome, that's every 18-year-old, I mean, I was one of the few people at 17 to make 25 grand and 18 to have 100 grand in my bank account and not spend it on stupid stuff. I just kept it in there and invested it and keeps growing from there. It's all discipline, consistency, same thing.
I see it in marketing a lot where, they'll dive in and they'll do the reps, like you said, like some driving for dollars, we'll throw some bandit signs out. They'll look for some low entry level type marketing. And then they'll maybe not land a deal. So they're going to pivot and like, well, maybe I should try this, or maybe I should try this, or maybe I should try this. My suggestion is just be consistent at the beginning, land your first few deals, give yourself some operating capital that you can then work with. And then you got to develop a marketing strategy. I mean, develop something that is going to be consistent. Again, that's probably the title of this podcast. We're going to talk about consistency, and then reinvest, just like you said. So let's go to the next level. You landed your first deal. You've got that 100K in the bank. What are you seeing, or what do you suggest to people that are looking to systematize and to scale and to make it a legit operation? Like, what are the pieces of the puzzle that you see are necessary for that?
I mean, it's pretty simple from what you do. So for most people that I've scaled up, they make 100K and then I go back and say, okay, well, what did you do to make 100K? So Roughly, if someone done 10 deals, 10K, I'll say, okay, well, let's list out your last 10 deals. Tell me what list was it and what marketing channel was it. Oh, there's all cold calling pre-foreclosures. Okay, well, let's just keep doing that. Or I'll be like, okay, why don't we start texting pre-foreclosures? Oh, wow, I didn't think about that. And then that doubles their marketing. And so you'll find in any market that certain lists work and certain marketing channels work. And if you do 10 deals, people don't even think about how they got the deal. If you look at the data, it's pretty easy to go from there. But really, you start expanding your lists, expanding your marketing channels. My favorite thing to do is if a list works, you just add an extra marketing channel to it. For example, if the vacant houses, you're cold calling, you're making a ton of money, start texting them or send direct mail to them. And then the direct mail is the easiest part to get to 100K a month because it's the best scalability you can have. So.
Yeah, the truth is you're going to get response on marketing from a multitude of channels. There's some people that are going to pick up the phone or are going to respond on a cold call. There's some people that are never going to answer a call. There's some that are going to text. Some are going to, strictly rely on, a Google search, and PPC could be, an amazing avenue. Master one. My suggestion is always master one before you move on to the next. Because if you got 15 irons in the fire and none of them are working, you don't know what to tweak. And so again, just back to that word consistency. Do you have as people, follow that plan and have that 100K in the bank, do you suggest building out a big team? Do you suggest building out any team? Is this a solopreneur type thing, or, what do you see that works best for the people that you work with as far as implementing a team into whatever scaling or systemization that they're doing?
Yeah, this is more higher level, but you can do around, like in Florida with me, I can make my average deal 30, 35, 40 grand. So if I can do at least 2 or 3 of those a month, I can technically hit 120 grand just doing it all by myself. Now that's 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and I can do that. I don't want to do that because I would rather do it around the country and my own market. So I'd say it depends. If you are spending more time on your marketing, doing it all is going to suck. For most people, it's about 30 grand a month you can do by yourself until you start needing team members, acquisitions, people, things like that. You could probably do $500,000 on a clean system. So most people that scale, but they're not scaled, they will do all the marketing themselves. They'll do the direct mail themselves, they'll pull a list themselves, and they'll have an acquisitions guy, maybe 2 acquisitions guys, and then they do the dispo themselves. That could be at $600-700K if you're flipping houses. But once you start getting 100K a month, then you got to go through the whole systems. And pretty much to give you a whole crash course on it, you just go from marketing. And so you start hiring those people out. So cold calling is the easiest one, texting. Then you have a lead manager if you want to have that. Then an acquisitions manager, and then someone for dispositions, usually an older real estate agent. And then you can kind of build those systems out from there.
Yeah, I will say this from my experience. For those listening, if you don't always have to scale, you don't always have to go bigger, better, bigger, better. Identify what your goals are, because if your goals are that you want to make a 400K salary and you can do that with a clean system and operate on minimal, my golly, you don't have to chase the Joneses. I made that mistake once where I drank the Kool-Aid where I had to scale everything and it didn't fit my goals and I had to pull back. So I always want people to understand, find clarity in your life, find clarity in your business. And if working your way out of that job or out of that acquisition role is your goal, there's going to be some things you're going to need to do. But, understand that, you want to build a business that fits your lifestyle. I always teach this, real estate will allow you to build a lifestyle business, but you got to make sure it's building the lifestyle business that you want and not somebody else. So that's something to keep in mind. You touched on it real quick, Zach, you're in multiple markets. You wholesale virtually, right? How many markets are you in, or just
48 states. 48 states.
Which 2 are you not in?
I believe Wisconsin and I think Wisconsin and South Dakota.
and you just got to get a deal in any of those states, and you'll be, so you can say 50.
Oh yeah.
So let's touch on that. Now we know what wholesaling is. This is a kind of branching off into kind of a new venture. Most people may not understand, but how do you wholesale virtually? What does that even mean?
So, I mean, I do it a little differently, obviously. I just leverage all my followers I do a lot of JV deals with them. But for the virtual spots, maybe it's like 6 or 7 markets that I've just done well and I've scaled it out. And so on the virtual side, it's basically kind of what I got stuck with. When I went to college at 18, basically I learned I couldn't wholesale where I was at. And so I just started cold calling on a dialer, and I kind of forced myself to learn what virtual was. My dad never did it, so that was a learning experience, but I just got good at it. So I spent 5 hours a day on a dialer, and then I got my teeth kicked in a bunch of times. But basically, someone wants to sell their house, we just kind of change the ways we do at the upfront versus the in-person thing. So it says, oh, well, I can't come to the house. Well, we are going to come to the house, but it's going to be my partner instead. What we do up front is we get an agreement, and then we come by and look at the house. We trust you on your word on the condition of the property. And then you just kind of go from there. You give an offer, you send the DocuSign, you stay on the phone with them, and you get the deal locked up. Then your partner, you bring the buyer through, they look at the house, and they buy it. It's just wholesaling, except you don't see it. So the contract signed virtually, and then you have to, depends, you can spend money, you don't have to spend money, and you can just do the walkthrough with the buyer not there. You can pay someone to send the guy through or not, or you just trust them.
So that's a great example or explanation of, you can wholesale properties and you don't actually have to walk them. You don't have to be there. Having boots on the ground is helpful. But literally you can, if you're in a market that's not conducive to wholesaling, or it's just maybe too saturated, you can pick other markets around the country that are, a little more, a better, opportunities there. And, you need to learn the market, but essentially, you start and you're flipping paper, and you don't have to walk these. You don't have to, be, belly to belly on this stuff, and you can wholesale this stuff virtually, again, with some good systems and good practices. It's an amazing opportunity. People sometimes shy away from it, don't understand the ins and outs of it, but it's not as complicated as most would think. So, can you touch on the topic? Like, I think you mentioned this a second ago, like reverse wholesale. Is that something you're seeing a lot of and you're doing? I know you work with students. Reverse wholesaling, a little bit different. Is that something that you are a fan of?
Like finding the buyer first?
Yeah. So
I love that. Yeah, for most people, their biggest struggle is finding a buyer, especially beginners. And so I'm like, well, find the buyer first, see where they want to buy, and then market in that area. Because then everyone gets super overwhelmed. And then you're kind of more niched out. That's a good strategy. When real estate starts going down, it's an easier thing to do. So when markets go down, it's easier to get a wholesaling deal locked up, but it's harder to sell the deal. So you got to focus more on the buyer. When real estate goes up, like we were used to, not really anymore, but still it's kind of in a weird spot. It was hard to find a deal and easy to find a buyer. So roles reverse, and we just find the buyer first. That's for most beginners out here. But really finding buyers is one of the easiest things still to this day. So it's not really that much of a struggle for anyone.
If you've got a deal, you'll find a buyer. I mean, guys, wholesalers are locking up stuff that's not a deal. If you're paying full retail for something and you're having a hard time disposition, there's a reason. I mean, but if you've got a good deal, honestly, my experience is, they'll sell. Having a good buyer list and disposition game can be very helpful. And the best thing you can do as a wholesaler is lock up good deals and they'll sell themselves. But that reverse wholesaling, that's been good. We have a lot of people approach us, and sometimes there's nothing more than a name or address and some pictures. I'll tell them what I'm ready to pay. They'll go and lock it up. They'll tack their assignment on, and that deal never saw the light of day. I mean, it was a reverse wholesale. So anybody listening, I would love to give you a number on any deal that you've got and reverse wholesale that. Zach, I had true to my word, I don't want to keep you too much longer. Something that I wrote down here, just working with family. I don't know if, that's been it has a set of challenges. A lot of times I've gone into business with family before, and, it has presented us challenges with me. What's been your experience in shedding any light on what it's like to work with, with family or close friends? And is that something that you would, go all in on, or like give a shade of pessimism, or hit the brakes a little bit? What's been your experience on that?
Yeah, I'm never agreed to go with family or friends or anything. I'd rather everyone do it by themselves. The only point of when you should get a partnership is when you both can make extra money than if you're not together. What I mean by that is if I make $500,000 and then someone else makes $500,000, we go to business together and we make $1 million, that's stupid. What's the point of that? That's just extra stress. The point is if I make $500,000, they make $500,000, we join together and we now can make $2 million. It makes more sense to do that. And so that's why I was wholesaling by myself first year and a half. And Rick was doing it himself. And then we kind of did together. I started adding in virtual wholesaling, added in cold calling. Then I added in texting with him. And then he added his systems with direct mail. And we didn't just make double, then we split it. No, we made like triple, quadruple, and then we just made more money together. Every week I get screwed on a JV deal. I get screwed from a buyer. I get screwed from another wholesaler every week. And so I've never gotten a deal stolen, or I've never been screwed by my family members. And so, yeah, it makes complete sense for him because he's the only guy that's never screwed me in wholesaling pretty much. It's pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, I'd do anything for him. So he's the only guy that won't screw me.
That's awesome. Well, tell us about your JV deals. You've got, again, for those that are just tuning in, Zach Ginn is our guest. You've got a pretty massive following. You've got a JV model that you work with students nationwide. What's your typical, JV model? What's your typical JV deal look like?
Yeah, so pretty much there's two reasons why someone sends me a JV deal. Number one, my coaching, my mentorship or whatever. We do live events, we do all these things. It's free if you send me a JV deal. And so that incentivizes people to send me deals. And so I'm always in the camp of if someone sends me a deal, it's 30 grand and we split it, I make 15 grand. And I have my whole team do it and I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to do on stupid Zooms with you one-on-one every single day. And I made 15 grand and that was in a month, and I can do multiple of those every single day. So I'd rather do that than do the coaching, book a call type thing. So that's what I do. And so you want to do my mentorship or whatever, just send me a JV deal. On top of that too, I do it to make money. And so I put my money where my mouth is. I say I'm good at wholesaling, so send me a deal. I'm good with buyers. I'll get things sold. And so slowly over 3 years, I've done that and done pretty well with it.
I love that model, yeah. And again, you're in it to help wholesalers get stuff across the line, and you're lending your experience, your credibility, and you get it across the line. And I always look at it as a JV deal is we get to the closing table and there's a slice of pie and we're going to cut it up.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather have half a watermelon than a whole grape, to be honest with you. And I've seen that on JV deals that we've done. Sometimes the assignment fees are super skinny. I'm like, you're leaving money on the table. Like we got to redo this, and so I would encourage people to consider JV deals, because in real estate you've got opportunity for a clean exit. I mean, this isn't like you're jumping in bed and going long term with the LLC and whole thing. It's a deal by deal basis, and so Zach, I love your model, and many have adopted that. I think that's is pretty badass. So, well, man, our time's coming to a close. I appreciate you joining us, man. This has been an eye opener again for anybody that's not following Zach. Give him. I'll give you in a second. You can share how people can follow you, but what parting words would you have for somebody that's considering jumping into real estate? They're maybe not all there. They think it's full of baloney or something. Like what would get somebody over the fence on considering to jump into wholesaling or real estate investing?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, just do one deal, and then when you get a $20,000 check, then call it fake. That's all I can really say. The best advice for me is make a ton of money wholesaling. Those profits, when you get scaled up, put that in rental properties and then just make infinite money. Like when I bought my first rental property as a teenager, that thing compounds like crazy. And so if you can just buy one rental property a year when you're 20, by the time you're 50, you got 30. It's F you. You can't do anything to me, right? And so if the economy goes down, I still make money, buy them all cash, you're good to go. It's a cheat code.
Everybody needs a place to live, and that is, those that jump into wholesaling or jump into flipping or some sort of investing strategy, inevitably you land in owning real estate. You're owning single family, multifamily, you're doing commercial or whatever, but you're making money while you sleep. Wholesaling and flipping, it's an active job. You can systematize a lot of it and, get in a rhythm. But yes, I love that. When you own real estate and your tenants are paying you money month in, month out, you've got a system in place, and property management is my suggestion. I never want to fix a toilet. You're making money while you're asleep. And that is, to me, like you said, that's the cheat code. Compound that. Just stack them. So good stuff, man. Well, hey, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in reaching out? How can they follow you? What socials? What's a good way to do that?
I'm good.
No shout outs on anything?
Shout out to you. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Hey, this has been another episode of Real Estate. Until next time.